All right. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Our Life, Beginnings and Always, Baxter's Roots. At the end of last episode, I said that I was going to quickly go through the rest of the in-between section between Step 2 and Step 3, and we're going to start this episode with the moment selection screen that you see normally. Unfortunately, at the end of that episode, I realized that there was a little bit in this in-between section that is important for you guys to see. I believe it deals with some of the plot that we're going to see closer to the end, like step 4-ish of Baxter's route. And so I wanted to show you all that real fast, and then we'll get into what we actually had planned for this episode. But this scene that we're in right now, as I said, it is the in-between between Step 2 and Step 3. More specifically, this is the introductory moment where we meet Miranda again and Terry. They have both just jumped out of the back of the building here. You know that weird part where Miranda texts you, "I can see you," and is being all creepy and stuff, and you're joking around. We're in the middle of a conversation where we're talking about things that we were getting up to this summer, our plans, and things that we've accomplished, like Cove joining Orca. Terry is thinking of doing lifeguard classes. Miranda is taking some classes at the community college, I believe. And then it says, not content speaking solely for herself for so long, Miranda mentioned good news for someone else. Specifically that her older brother Jude had a new boyfriend. You vaguely knew who Jude was, but even though you'd been friendly with Miranda for 5 years, he was already in out-of-state college back then. Okay. He was in his mid-20s, you were pretty sure of that. What you knew for certain was that he had his own place with a real career and everything, alright? Go Jude. Jude existed in a whole other stage of life than you, and hanging out with his much littler sister's friends had never been on his to-do list. Now that was an accomplishment worth being taken in by. Terry, who heard it, and Miranda, who said it, were equally dazed. He's been single for, a few years now. It kind of seemed like he just wasn't interested in anybody. And that was true, basically. There wasn't anyone here for him. He's dating a friend he's known online for a long time. They've been playing games together since college. This is my theory, but he might not have dated anyone else because all he wanted was to hang out more with that good friend. But no one ever say that to him. He never even hinted that there might be a thing until one day when they were suddenly dating. But besides that, what's funny is I don't even know his name. Jude didn't talk about him to us until they'd already known each other forever. And now that Jude has started talking about him all the time, he just calls him Grant.
Huh?
Is his name not Grant? It's not. It's an inside joke about how they talked about school Grants one time when they were first becoming friends. They thought it was funny how Grant was also a name and were going all, "Oh, I bet Grant could get a grant." Then it escalated to joking about a grant being named after some person called Grant. His friend made Grant his username for everything, and it still is today. He barely had a concept of Miranda's brother, and that one explanation was everything you knew about his boyfriend, but the story gave a real impression of who they were. Wow. Godspeed, Judy. Never let Grant go. That's nice. I bet they're really happy. I support you, Jude and Grant.
Thank you.
Trying to follow the incredible story of Grant proved difficult. Miranda trailed off. The current conversation was well and truly over, so Cove took a chance to speak. This has been on my mind the whole time, but there was never a good chance to mention it before. Okay. What is it? There's a new person renting a condo in our neighborhood. Cool. Really? From one tale of an unusual character to another, Cove spoke of Baxter Ward as if he was a local legend. His name is Baxter. He's in college, though doesn't look like he's much older than us. Maybe Miranda's age? He's not going to be what you expect, no matter how much you try to guess. The description put Terry on the edge of a non-existent seat, and she was about to fall off of it somehow.
What?
A new man in town? Who's our age? Cove Holden has been holding out on us as usual. I won't guess. You'll tell me what he's like. Oh boy. He... Damn, I can't wait to see him again. A weird guy who's probably rich. Way too forward. I also kind of like, it's funny, monochrome. I don't know. I don't like any of these options, to be honest. I'm gonna say monochrome, because that's my favorite, but I wouldn't say any of those. What does that mean? Baxter dresses in all black and white and a little gray. His hair is black with white streaks, too. Huh? Cove had been correct. That kind of man had not been considered in the realm of possibilities for Terry or Miranda. He added on to your initial description with a couple thoughts of his own. More explanation was required to make sense of it.
I mean...
Baxter is, bold. He says whatever he wants, and, well, Kit already mentioned how he dresses. But I don't care that he has a style. Or that he's not shy. What I don't get is the way he acts so impressed by strangers who have done nothing. He said he wanted to hang out with us, me and Kit, this summer and all this other stuff. And that was the first time we'd met. I have no idea why he cares or why it was so easy for him to say that to people he knows nothing about. Cove, he's just confident. He's just outgoing. And I know you're very much not, but like some people live like that. It's crazy.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh, so you got his number?
No.
Cove's eyes squinted and his nostrils squished inward from the incredulous scrunch that suggestion had given him. Considering the picture that had been painted, he couldn't understand why Terry would imagine anything like that had happened. I will ask later. And do it. And you should too, Cove. You don't meet a social butterfly like that every day. The black and white color scheme proves he's a rare specimen.
Ooh.
This Baxter is flapping around the town, coming to appreciate our two good buds, Cove and Kit. Right? Like, flower buds, and he's a butterfly? Terry, that pun is such a stretch. Well, he sounds like my kind of guy, and we could always use more friends. I like this. No, it's very possible to have as many friends as you need. This was escalating. The more fired up Terry got, the more Cove and Miranda wanted to shield themselves from the embers. I think it'd be nice if we could get along. No longer moving forward, Terry stood there with her hands on her hips as a single true extrovert of the group. I'm sorry, Cove and Miranda. And me, but like...
I'm on it.
I'm gonna meet Baxter right now. Oh shit, okay. Cove completely stalled except for his lips, which sputtered a response. What about getting food? I know the way. You can all go ahead. I'll be back before the food hits the table. You'll see it. Terry's light chuckles contrasted massively with a hefty sigh from Cove. You're actually going to go to a stranger's house and just ask for his number? That's the plan? Yeah. Why do you gotta be like this? If I wasn't like this, me and you never would have been friends ourselves. And I probably wouldn't have been friends with Randy either. I don't live in this town. I can't miss an opportunity to connect. Otherwise, that'd mean leaving it up to chance or fate or Cove's ability to have a relationship progress on his own. I don't really have all year for that. He'll be gone before then.
We're cool.
Not to insult you for going slow, Cove. You're good the way you are. Pat, pat. Baxter can be a butterfly and you can be a snail. There's affection in Terry's extended metaphor, but Cove still frowned at the almost certainly correct assessment of how his connection with Baxter was going to develop.
No.
I don't like snails. There's so many good ones here. How about being a sea turtle then? I like snails and I like you, pat pat. You shouldn't talk badly of yourself. You shouldn't talk badly of yourself. You are the snail. That's a good one. Oh jeez. How about a sea turtle then? Okay. I'm a turtle. Good that you can accept that. Order me the General Tso's chicken. I assume that's how you pronounce it. I've never ordered. I don't even know what General Tso's chicken is, so I'll get his number. Inspired by the name of her meal, or perhaps her meal was inspired by the sudden mission, Terry gave a military salute before flipping around. Miranda and Co. simply watched in disbelief. You're making a mistake leaving your order with us is funny. I don't know what to do here. I don't know what I would do in this situation. I think honestly I would stand there so shocked that I would end up just staying with the other two. But part of me is also like, I feel like she should not just go on her own, right? Hold on, I'll go with you. Kit? Listen, I'm not just gonna let Terry show up at his door. Just alone. Cove gave a halting yell, but he had no intention of stopping you. He just had more foresight than you in that instance. It's gonna be weird. What are we supposed to order for you then? Oh, the usual. Oh. You slowed your pace way down and glanced over your shoulder. You called out, "Give me the usual." Not quite, but it's close enough. I like sweet and sour chicken. I'll accept pork.
All right.
Thank you. He let you go, and you found when you looked ahead that Terry had stopped in her tracks. She waited for you after you announced your intention of joining. Thank you.
Thanks.
I knew you were a bud. I just don't want you to go there by yourself. I feel like that's going to be so awkward and weird, and I kind of want to be standing there with popcorn, to be honest. The trip back wasn't long. You barely left your neighborhood before the announcement of this change of plans, but there was no time to lose. Together, you sped down the sidewalk around the bend, and in only a few minutes you returned to the ever-familiar sloped street. Hi, we're back. Harry's feet took her halfway down the road, smack dab between your house and Cove's. It was a force of habit. Which is his? She asked the question so naturally, you almost missed realizing that she wouldn't have known where to even go if you hadn't decided to come after her. That is so valid. What were your plans? You're just gonna stand here in the middle of the street and go, "Yo, Baxter! Who the fuck are you?" Almost. But you had come because you didn't want her to go alone. Being able to help is what you were there for. Sure. You pointed a finger towards one of the rectangular houses back up higher on the hill that she'd passed right by. That's it. Oh, glad you're here. Let's go. She hoofed it in reverse. like literally just started walking backwards. Upwards to what had been the Forbidden Fortress. Though the former danger that haunted those halls had been released, and instead it was claimed by a proper gentleman. Terry fearlessly rang the doorbell. She never understood the true terror of the Donnells, but one might think there'd be some hesitation in the action. After all, she was still approaching the home of someone so unfamiliar to her if she hadn't known which house it was. But they would have thought wrong. Terry remained fully confident in the decision. You stood at her side with hardly more justification to be doing this. Hi. The door opened and there was the man you'd met a whole 30 minutes ago. Baxter had said goodbye for today when he left then. What an overestimation of how long it'd be before you'd once again show him your face. Oh. He must have believed what he'd said because seeing you raised his brow and put a questioning edge in his exclamation. Why were you back? After the initial recognition, though, his features all smoothed out into his default expression. Lidded eyes and a curved smile.
My pleasure.
Kit, it's a pleasure to see you. And you? Baxter's head angled squarely at Terry. It was at a playful tilt. You weren't there before. So keeping his face turned to Terry, his deep brown eyes shifted towards you. It must be popular to have such a rotating collection of company. I expected as much. Thank you. Baxter blinked, and it was as if he'd never taken focus from Terry for even a second. His attention was on her so fixedly. He held out a hand decorated with sleek black rings to her, then gave a cordial introduction.
Nice to see you.
I'm Baxter Ward. How nice to meet you. The offered hand received a sprightly slap, a side five, in place of a shake. Terry, I love you so much. I'm Terry, a friend of your neighbor's. Is that going to be the new, this? Right? Because we did, one of us was going for, I can't even remember who was going for the high five and which was going for the fist bump at this point, but one of us did the other and we just went turkey. Is that going to be the new turkey? This playthrough? We're just going to always side slap each other's hands? His interest was piqued. Baxter far less subtly looked between the individuals making a house call, trying to gauge the motivation for it. With no hint to go off of, he settled for asking directly.
How are you?
I see. And what can I do for you, my neighbor and friend of my neighbor's? That's Terry. This is her thing. Terry? Kit here and Cove not here talked about you moving in for the summer. Sounded cool to me. I decided to see you and your black and white hair myself. The reason people were unexpectedly at his doorstep had been revealed. Baxter's response to such an intrusion was pleased. He instinctively brushed a few strands of dyed hair, smiling all the while. Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
You sounded cool, and you are. Let's swap numbers, okay?
Really?
This town truly is neighborly. I'm not from this place. Terry's reason for seeing him was far more tenuous than Baxter assumed. She didn't live in the neighborhood, or the next one past, or anywhere in Sunset Bird. She laughed heartily over it. Baxter snickered much more wryly. Neither of them had a care in the world. Oh god, extroverts, am I right? Then it's this social circle from wherever they come from that's so friendly. Even better. Does that mean I can have your number?
Certainly.
All right.
You guys can just have a conversation all by yourselves, no need for me to read anything. Terry pulled out her cracked cell. Of course it's cracked. Baxter did the same at the same time. His phone case was black and white. No surprise there. They hovered closer to each other, bent over the screens, and tapping away. After a mistype or two, numbers were exchanged. Thank you. Welcome. She actually got your new neighbor's number. Terry should not be underestimated. So fuck it, you can have mine too. And I can add you to my contacts. His head remained bowed, but his gaze lifted towards you. Don't look at me like that. His cheeks went up as well in a sparkling smile. Of course, I'd love that. Listen, the only reason I am that confident to be exchanging numbers is because you're a fucking extrovert, okay? Baxter waited for you to get your own phone out, and he repeated his number. You got it down, then gave yours in return. The contact name on his list was Kid Across the Street, with an exclamation point. Get across the street!
Perfect.
He slid his phone into his back pocket.
Honestly.
I must admit, I was not expecting this vacation to go as well as it has, and you've only been here for 30 minutes. Even with a generous estimation of my sociability, I imagine I'd need a week or more to find someone to exchange numbers with. Instead, I have 2 new friends, the very instant I arrived. Oh, Baxter, this isn't even all. Since you've seen me, Kit, and Cove, it's only a matter of time before you meet Miranda, too. And then there's still Liz, obviously. Maybe even Lee will make an appearance. The news of yet more strangers being invited into Baxter's vacation had no visible impact on him. He replied, contented and calm. I look forward to all that. As you should. Now, we need to make haste. There are other matters we must attend to. Lunch awaits. That was one way to put it. Baxter's formal tone seemed to be rubbing off on Terry.
See you.
Then I won't keep you. I hope to see you again soon, though. Please feel free to text or call anytime. Have a good day. Same. I don't know which one of these I would say. I would say bye, but I wouldn't say his name. You don't get to hear me say your name until we've been friends for at least a year. Enjoy your day too is not something that I'd say. See you later. I guess. See ya, sucker. Come on, Kit. Like 2 shots, you went off up the road. Baxter didn't move an inch from the entryway as you left. Neither you nor Terry spoke on the race to the restaurant. The clock was ticking. Every second longer you took could be another drop in degrees for the warmth of your meal. I don't care. You stopped to catch your breath only when you were under the shaded awning of the Chinese restaurant. Terry wiped her fully exposed forehead with her palm.
Finally!
Making friends works up an appetite. Yeah, good thing we're about to eat. You entered the building together leisurely, pretending to be normal people who arrived for lunch in a totally reasonable way. Terry explained to the hostess up front that a table should already be prepared for her and you with 2 others. One who's short and in shorts. Cute, freckled, big purple eyes, a lacy top. She's shy and probably didn't say much, and the other is Miranda. The hostess politely stopped Terry's babbling with the raise of a hand before she even began to describe Cove. That was funny to get the idea across. You were directed towards the center of the dining area. Miranda and Cove were there, speaking quietly. In front of them was nothing more than 4 cups of water and a plate of 3 spring rolls. Okay. So either you got many spring rolls and 3 are left, or it came with 4 and Cove already ate one. The dish was supposed to have 4. As sure as Baxter loved black and white, you knew it was Cove who ate the one that was missing. Even if food technically ended up in Cove's stomach before the 2 of you returned, an appetizer had to be cheating. Terry meant the main course, and it was not there. You could still take it as a win. She certainly did. Hey, we made it.
Hey!
Terry, Kit, hi. Creases lingering on Cove's face showed he'd been worrying about the results of the unexpected pit stop until the moment you both appeared. But since you strode up so victoriously, he was reassured enough to already joke about it. You barely made it, you know. We ordered a while ago, and this appetizer is already here. Not close, but making it is making it. Did my good friends get what I requested? The sudden primness of Terry's speech was lost on Miranda. She didn't understand that a bit of Baxter had been brought to the restaurant with the 2 of you. Yeah, I got it. General Tso's chicken for you and sweet and sour pork for Kit. Thank you. I wish it was chicken, but it's okay.
Thank you!
One of the empty seats was finally filled as Terry plopped down, satisfied after a job well done. You took the last remaining chair. So, did you actually see him and get his number? We did. Cove glanced your way, his wavy brows raised in surprise. We was clearly the word that was on his mind. Yeah, I got his number too, bitch. He continued with comfortable ease. I got his number too. Bitch.
Huh.
The group had settled into its usual rhythm when your proper meals arrived a few minutes later. You ate and talked, and not once did the topic return to that element of the unknown, Baxter Ward. But he remained stuck in a corner of your mind. After many seasons in the sleepy town, you had expectations of what the summer of 2016 would look like. Damn. Time dropped. This takes place during 2016. Actually, the weird thing though too is that the main characters, like, you know, me and Cove, were born in the same year that I was born. So not only is like the characters right now are 18 in 2016, like I was 18 in 2016. Do you understand? I forget when Cove's birthday is, but he's like a couple of weeks younger than I am. And I think that's absurd. Why were you also born the same year that I was? It's so weird. Anyway, it had been all too easy to imagine. Sure, you graduated high school, your life wasn't going to be the same anymore, but it was too soon for that to warp the existence you'd had for over a decade. At least, you thought so. And yet, there was Baxter. He was something you'd not counted in a single one of your vacation plans. You couldn't have until barely an hour ago. Now his number was on your phone. A new world, one you had no grasp on, was already poking its way into your old routine. And it had come in the form of a black and white ballroom dancer. You were lucky. The final days of familiar comfort had come. But the first sight beyond that was a charming young man asking you to spend time together. And then I think the rest of this is just going to be the normal bit of the beginning of step 3, so I'm going to skip it and I'll see you when we get to the moment selection screen. Okay, so here we finally are on the moment selection screen. And this is where I'm not sure what to do. So I know already, similar to how in step 2 we could do Soiree, Cove's version of Soiree, or we could go over to Derek's DLC, which I don't own, and do Derek's version of Soiree. Similarly, in step 3, we have Cove's version of Hang, and then if we go over here to Baxter's DLC, I can read this later, I don't need to read it right now. He has his own version of Hang, and if you play one, you can't play the other, of course. What I don't know, what the hell does this mean? What I don't know, though, is what order should I do the events? Because, okay, so Hang is the very first one if we go through Cove's version of the events. Hang is second if we do Baxter's. Does that mean I should do sightseeing first and then Hang? Should I go through like errands, talks, all of these? I'm not doing serendipity. I'm telling you right now, I'm skipping serendipity. I don't know what order to do these things. And I've been thinking about it like all day, trying to figure out what I should do here. Okay, so I just in the background looked this up to see what we should be doing, and I actually found somebody online who was talking about pretty much this exact scenario. We are replaying the game. If we are doing Baxter's DLC, should you also replay everything else in Cove's main part of the story? And somebody says that Baxter will only show up in late shift and in boating. So, you know, everything else is pretty much the same, and then, you know, Hang is different as we just talked about, as well as all of his things, all of his stuff. So I think what we're gonna do here is we're going to play Hang first, because it's the very first one here. I will go through and I will play things like errands, talks, all of these, off screen, because I still want them to be referenced, but I don't want, like, if it's just going to be the same exact thing as the first time that I played it, I don't want you guys to have to sort of slog through that with me as well. I will skip late shift and boating so we can play those together, and then we will go through sightseeing, drinks, mountain, and planning. I don't know. I'm gonna generally go from left to right, because that's how they say, like, that's how the developers planned it to be, was from left to right. You can do it in any order you want, though. I do not currently know whether or not I should do late shift and boating before sightseeing, drinks, mountain, planning. Should I do all these and then do late shift boating? Unsure, but for the very least right now, because we probably only have enough time for one moment in the rest of this episode, we are going to do Hang. Let's hang. The stars had magically aligned, and somehow everyone was free today. But it was more than just luck. You owed it all to Miranda's determination. By the way, this is what my room looks like. I changed it from last time. I now have a double bed. Last time I had just a single little twin over here, and it was kind of funny. I chose yellow this time. She set things up over several phone calls to find the perfect window to hit the beach. You couldn't wait to meet up with everyone. Coordinating schedules have been especially rough lately, but you didn't let that stop you from organizing your grand plan. You wanted your new friend to be included in all the fun. After a bit of messaging with the others, you had brought up the possibility of adding Baxter to the mix. No one objected to your request, so you and Terry swiftly put his phone number to good use that we just got. Baxter had been flattered to be thought of that early in the planning stage. Funnily enough, he'd been the easiest one to account for, despite being far and away the newest guy on the block. Baxter was able to rearrange his schedule to whatever everyone else needed, and you and Terry relayed the remaining details to Cove and Miranda later. Your hopes were high. Almost everyone knew each other to varying degrees, but this would be Miranda and Baxter's first time meeting. And yet, you weren't that worried. Deep down, you had a pretty good feeling that they'd get along once they got to spend a little time together. That was where things stood. Am I inviting Baxter over? No, I don't think so. He lives next door. He can stay in his own house. You'd see them all soon, but Cove is there with you already. Nodding along to Cove's story, you ran through the mental checklist in the back of your mind. Baxter didn't have everyone's number, so keeping him updated on any changes was the star-circled, most important thing you had to keep track of. Peeking at your phone, there were no new messages to read. In that case, nothing was the best possible sign. It was all still going ahead. Hi. Cove sat on your windowsill and kicked one of his legs in the air idly. He already had his swimsuit on, and his towel was bundled under his arm in a misshapen ball. He'd shown up earlier that morning with a surprising amount of enthusiasm. He was chatting as you caught up to his preparation. But seriously, I couldn't find my swimsuit this morning. I looked everywhere. It had disappeared. I had no idea what I was going to do. What happened to all your other swimsuits? I know that's not your only one. Cove looked away and shrugged. I might have some laundry to do. Anyway, I don't know why it was in the bathroom when I never put it there. He gave a small smile and readjusted the towel on his arms. You now could see that it had been folded up at some point, but then rolled up and carried without much care.
I'm so glad.
I found it. It would have been really crappy to lose my favorite trunks. It was nice to see Cove so happy and comfortable in what he was wearing. You walked over to your dresser and mused about how you had picked out your own swimsuit. Your height had complicated your swimsuit shopping. Not many swimsuits were well fitting on someone who's petite. And then for the shape of your body, have a shape? You were fucking scrawny. Maybe slender. Let's go with slender. And your body was delicate. Okay, maybe not that delicate. Your body was soft. There's a smooth feel to your build without any hard muscle, even if you flexed. Me. You had become heavier than what you used to be when you were younger. You had grown over the years and fleshed out a little more.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I was just thinking about some things. What things? Just myself and my body, really. His eyebrows rose at your admission of self-reflection. And what do you think? What did you think about who you were? You considered your identity further. You knew for sure that you were non-binary. What a conversation to have. Like, I remember this from the first time that we played, but hi. You had no questions about that part. People had a lot of their identity wrapped up in their physical form. It shaped their self-image. I'm somewhere in between comfortable and not really content. Okay. Your body was you, and it was a good one that you felt content in, sure. You focused on Cove again. He smiled at you and tilted his head, a question still in his eyes. He was waiting for you to come to an answer, but before you could, you had something to say to him. What? Neither one of these. I don't fucking care. I could skip this conversation, Cove. What do you think? Check out these guns. Cove smirked a little, his eyes taking you in easily. Fishing for compliments, Kit, always. You look great. Everyone knows that, including you, by the way. Unless that's changed. The always was a joke, by the way. So what if I wanted you to compliment me? I don't care, Cove. Fine. Cove shook his head. His hand went up to try to unsubtly cover his smile. I was kind of worried you were in your own head because something was wrong. I guess not. I'm glad.
Hey.
Kit. Cove gave a bent smile, pointing to your arms. You're looking particularly shapely today. He answered not with words, but with a solid okay sign with both hands and the same cheeky smile. I do like this conversation, though. You were a little taken aback. I came out of nowhere. You glanced at yourself. I didn't know you liked my arms so much. Yeah. You started to flex and show off jokingly. You posed dramatically. You showed off your guns, fighting laughter. First the right, then the left. You then flexed both of your arms and widened your stance in a stereotypical strong pose. He cracked a huge smile. Kit, this is too much for me to witness. Cove hopped up from his seat and fluttered his hands in front of you, gesturing for the display to stop, laughing the whole time. He gave the poor guy a break and put the goods back down. He exaggeratedly wiped his brow and let himself fall back into place on the windowsill. Finally, you felt like that was enough of that topic for one day. You went back to your original goal before you got sidetracked. You needed to pick what you wanted to wear to the beach. Thanks. We are gonna wear swimsuits. Swim trunks and a top. While you dug around in your drawers, you tried to think if there was anything else you were missing. None of these. A hat, because I'm forced to take something. With that taken care of, you held your outfit together and looked to Cove. He was tapping his toes on the side of the wall as he waited. You vaguely wondered if he thought that was a comfortable place to sit. You hoped so, given how long he perched on it. Regardless, it was time for him to go. You weren't going to put on your beach wear with him just chilling there. Begone, Cove. Cove smiled, content with being kicked out. Alright. Cove lowered himself off the windowsill and walked by you to get to the door. He lightly patted you on your arms. Hey, don't touch the goods. I need these for the gun show.
Bye.
I'll see you out front. Okay. When you were alone, you got undressed and put your swimwear on. You also checked your beach bag for the final time, and it seemed like you hadn't forgotten anything. You left your room and hurried down the stairs, ready to meet Cove. You made sure to lock your front door and walked outside. Cove stood out in the road, looking down and scuffing his feet on the asphalt. When you shut your heavy door, he looked up at you and smiled. Want to check on Baxter? Cove's fairly neutral attitude on the topic of Baxter didn't escape your notice. He tended to get uncomfortable whenever Baxter surprised or flustered him, but since things were pre-planned and for an event favorable to Cove, he didn't seem bothered. Cool, let's go.
Sure.
The two of you walked unhurried up the street. You hopped onto the doorstep and rang the bell. A few seconds passed and you shifted your weight onto your feet while you waited. But Baxter didn't answer. The pause extended until things reached the point where you felt awkward hovering in front of his shut-up home. Baxter. We're going out to the beach. Ah. You spun towards Cove and he returned your nervous stare with a tight-lipped smile. At least you could take solace in the fact that the mild misery had company. There were only a couple of options to pick from. You could either ring the doorbell again, or you could send him a text. You reached for your phone, but a sudden noise through the wood made you stop. Bitch, where were you? Finally, the door cracked open and Baxter peeked through. He then swung the door the rest of the way out.
Good afternoon.
I can't thank you both enough for waiting. Hi. Hey, I think. Do I want to ask what you were doing? Hey. Baxter leaned against the frame and his attention flittered between you and Cove. With a flick of your wrist, you added a wave. We're here to pick you up if you're ready.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't ask for better escorts. The atmosphere had become far more laid back. Cove was the one to move things forward. So I was thinking we could get settled at the beach now, and Terry and Miranda can catch up with us there.
I can do that.
I second that idea. While this neighborhood is charming, I think a change in scenery would be preferable. Then we're all in agreement. Our beach day begins now. You exuberantly pointed in the direction of the beach while Cove paused to shoot off a quick update. He made sure to let the others know exactly where to find you. He flashed a thumbs up as soon as the message was sent, and with that, the three of you strolled down the street. The path he walked was as natural as breathing for you and Cove. For Baxter, it was a brand new experience. Though you might not have been able to tell, he walked straight on with certainty in his steps that was on par with the locals. The ocean stretched as far as the eye could see. It was a perfect day, clear skies, rolling waves, and an inviting breeze coming across the water to combat the balmy heat. Cove threw his towel down and smoothed out the corners while you settled on a spot for your own things nearby. Baxter, meanwhile, hesitated, merely watching what the two of you had done. Before you could say anything, Baxter moved forward and picked a small stretch of beach close to yours for his own things. He meticulously laid his pure black towel out over the warm white sand. Do they make towels in black? I've never had one. I always choose gray. Turning away, you tried to hold back and hide your laughter. It was just so convenient that even here his black and white color scheme was inescapable. Shaking off the snickers, you were glad Baxter had the forethought to bring a towel. He shouldn't need to dry off, but at least he had a comfortable barrier between himself and the ground. Baxter stared right ahead, hypnotized by the moving water, and carefully lowered himself onto the towel. For you, your family, and your neighbors, the ocean was an old and well-loved friend. But witnessing the wonder dancing through Baxter's eyes reminded you just how vast and awe-inspiring the sight truly was when it was right in front of you. You glanced at Cove and realized that he was taken in by that side of Baxter as well. This beach was a special place for the people of Sunset Bird, and now it was working its magic on Baxter. Cove seemed flattered by the awe and unspoken approval written all over Baxter's face. Like it's about him. The sea meant more to him than even the others living there. To appreciate it was to accept him. He hugged his knees to his chest.
So?
What do you want to do? When you didn't answer, Baxter tore his focus away from the water. He was pleasantly surprised to find out that Cove had directed that question to him instead. Oh, I've been running on the assumption that you all had something in mind. Whatever it is works for me. We don't. No? No ideas?
Honestly.
I'd prefer to stay as dry as possible. Taking a stroll or simply remaining here where we are, enjoying the scenic view, would make a perfect afternoon in my book. But my wants shouldn't interfere with yours. I won't stop anyone from having fun in the water. We're at the shore and I'm not heartless. Cove nodded understandingly. The odds were low that Baxter was going to go for a dip in jeans and a shirt that looked too delicate for the washing machine, but that was fine. I don't want to go in the water either. It seems so weird, but the last time that I went to the beach with my friends, like for sure swimsuit, but I just stayed on the shore. You guys can go, I'll sit here and watch the stuff. So like, valid. I've also been to the beach in jeans and a t-shirt because I'm silly. A stroll sounds nice, I guess. You stretch your legs in anticipation of hopping up soon. Really? It's wonderful. Don't be too surprised. This beach is one of my favorite places to walk and explore. Want to look for a new shell? Always. It's been a while since I set out to find one on purpose. The last few I stumbled on. Cove laughed, remembering fondly. In the water or not, the beach truly was something special for him and for you. We'll have to be light on our feet then. Luckily, that's something I quite excel at. Boo. Cove kicked his heel, sending some grains of sand that had gotten on his towel sailing. He had done well starting the conversation, but now he was unsure of how to keep it going. Luckily, it didn't take long until you heard shouts. You turned your head to see both Miranda and Terry running straight for you. Miranda was faster, making leaps and bounds across the sand. Terry followed in her wake, laughing with her towel clutched around her shoulders and flowing like a cape. Miranda started making her jumps more theatric and more precarious as she got closer. Cove waved them on with a bright grin. You laughed. They always found a way to make such a memorable entrance. The two officially arrived at your little group's setup, looking completely ready for an ocean adventure. They were already in their swimwear and were raring to go. Awkwardly, Cove pointed in Baxter's direction. You remember that Miranda hadn't actually seen him before. That's Baxter. The strange young man's presence nearby suddenly made a lot more sense to her. Miranda shyly waved with a cheerful smile.
Hi.
What do your pants say? Maldiva? 83. Congrats, you're number 83. Hi, nice to meet you.
Of course.
Baxter offered her a handshake, and Miranda grew confused at his formal gesture, checking the reactions of her friends on if she was the weird one for thinking this was weird. That only made his smile widen. I can assure you that I'm harmless. You knew Miranda well enough to recognize the worry she was trying to hide behind a more collected front. It was easy to imagine that she might have felt somewhat intimidated. Baxter had an air of maturity about himself, while Miranda was a little bit childish and shy in comparison. Hesitantly, she clasped his hand and gave him a proper shake. Thanks for meeting us here today.
My pleasure.
Baxter placed his other hand gently on the back of hers while he spoke. They both let go and Terry sprung forward.
Hey, buddies.
She teasingly punched Baxter's upper arm. Nice to see you too. Terry had already made her dramatic introduction to him at the start of summer, so she was excited to skip right to the good part. Hanging out. The bee-man is actually here. I can't believe how long it took for everyone to get together. Hi, Cove and Kit, too. Hey. Catch us up. Did we miss anything important? Shrug. Terry tilted her head. She then turned on Miranda with a grin. Then, what about you? Anything you can say, Baxter? Or Randy? Miranda looked back and forth between you and Cove. Then with a small, evil smirk, she too shrugged. Baxter remained motionless but silent. A compromise for the joke.
No.
Come on, somebody's gotta answer. Miranda burst out giggling and Cove snorted. Terry then started talking about her morning and how she'd almost overslept since she had stayed up too late last night. She bounced on her feet as she spoke. But don't worry about me being tired today. You know I ran on less during school. Miranda filled in the group about her morning. Apparently, everything had gone smoothly. She met up with Terry on the way here, and you knew the rest. Cove offered a suggestion to the gang. Hey, let's walk while we catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You felt pleased that Cove remembered what you wanted to do. Sometimes he could be thoughtful like that. Once everyone's stuff was settled on the beach, the group strolled over to the shoreline. The wet sand was cool under your feet. A wave rushed up and covered your ankles in water. You flinched from the suddenness of it, but by the next wave you were acclimated. You took another step forward and sank in a little into the ground. Behind you, your footprints were soon smoothed by the waves. Your friends chatted as you all walked together, though Baxter remained at a distance to stay dry. You took turns pointing out cool shells or pieces of sea glass. It was a relaxing jaunt. Hours passed, and the group had moved between different activities, some low-key and some more exhaustive. For you, it was break time. Baxter agreed. You sat on your towel, sipping at some water, and he rested on his. Your friends were hard at work burying Terry's full body under a pile. Miranda used her arms to force up sand around Terry's sides. Co worked on covering Terry's feet. He took another drink and glanced over at Baxter. He was staring at the water, but there was an entirely different feeling radiating from him. Rather than pure awe, there was a level of discomfort marring Baxter's expression. You wondered what was bothering him. "What's up, my dude?" Suddenly, he turned towards you as if he could feel your curiosity prodding at him. He surprised you with a kind smile.
To be honest,
"I've never swam in the ocean before." "We can. I mean, you're wearing jeans, but it's chill." He let that hang there and absentmindedly brushed some sand off of his thigh. After spending so much of your life in Sunset Bird, you honestly struggled to believe that. "I've been on boats, of course, but I can't imagine being fully immersed in the ocean. It's a bit, well, frightening. It seems endlessly deep and unpredictable, with powerful waves and rapid currents. And there are creatures lurking in there. Some of them are larger than me. It's unfathomable." Sorry, I just now glanced at your face. What is that frown? You don't play with something like that.
it's
If I enter that water, I'll never return from it. You can come back. The ocean will swallow me whole. That's what I think. His smile strained under the weight of his growing nervousness. Baxter had always carried himself so calmly. This genuine vulnerability left you speechless. And then you heard Miranda screech. Your attention immediately switched over to your friends. Pause. You registered that Terry had gotten impatient and shifted her legs. The walls Miranda had been meticulously building collapsed into a wet heap of sand. She surveyed the damage critically. "We're gonna have to start over on that part. Do you want to give up on this now?" "No way. The burial must continue. I'll try not to move anymore." "Okay, if you're sure. I'll try to fix this." Miranda started to rebury her, and Terry shot her a thumbs up. She realized too late that moving her arm was a bad idea. More of the sand on her crumbled, and Miranda put her head in her hands.
Don't worry about it.
"I've got that part." Miranda nodded at him with appreciation. They got back to work, redoubling their efforts to pile sand over the limbs of their friend. Anyway, back to Baxter. Baxter caught your eye, and you both snickered at the interruption. As it grew quiet again, you offered Baxter some words. Just any old words? Bah. Like the dogs in the sky. I can't think of what that meme is called. So many of these. I don't really like going in the ocean either, to be fair. There's also nothing wrong with that, being scared of the ocean. Do you want to try going in just a little? Like all three of these all at once. Do you want to try going in just a little? I'll be there with you. Baxter's near perpetual smile flattened into a thin line. He swallowed visibly. I'm not saying you should go for a swim. You could get your feet wet, feel the waves brushing against your toes. He ruminated.
It's doable.
Whoops. I pressed continue too soon. He ruminated on your suggestion for several seconds. Gradually, you caught the upturned twist of his lips.
It's doable.
Then let's go. Let's. One by one, Baxter removed his sleek black shoes and gently set them on his towel. You noticed they had a slight heel to them. Okay. Next, Baxter peeled off his crisp white socks and stuffed them inside the shoes. Finally, he rolled the tattered edge of his jeans up to his calves. The two of you got up and approached the ocean's edge. As soon as the water rushed forward and tickled his skin, the air got caught in his throat, and Baxter froze in place. This is not where I expected the day to go, Baxter. This is what I was thinking the entire time. Do you want me to hold your hand? His lips twitched, and then Baxter immediately latched onto you. Moving closer, you tried not to splash him. You knew this was a huge moment for Baxter, and you were willing to give him all the time he needed. Gradually, he was able to release a calming breath. He squeezed you and offered a tentative smile. You gave him a reassuring squeeze back. Baxter inched further until the water crept up on his calf. He watched the water swirling around him as it moved with the tide, and then surprisingly, he chuckled at the sensation. You know, this is rather nice. Yeah. I mean, not to alarm you, it's good that you can't actually hear me. I'm just talking to you guys, the camera, the audience, hello. Every single time that I go into the ocean, my entire life, I've always been pinched by a crab. Within, seconds of getting into the water. So, I'm glad you're having fun. I'm constantly getting pinched. Yeah.
But
This is as far as I'll go. I'm positive on that point. That's okay. Right here is perfect. I'm just glad this wasn't too bad for you. As am I. Baxter stayed there and viewed the waves not from a distance, but from within their embrace. His nerves ebbed until you two were relaxed in that bubble of each other's company. At least by your side, he could enjoy the feeling of the ocean from a safe level.
Oh yeah!
No, man. She doesn't say it like the Kool-Aid man. Resembling the Kool-Aid man. It was not a very good impression. She kicked herself out of the ground with gusto. Sand went flying in all directions, and a terry-shaped imprint was left behind. Miranda yelled again, and Cove chuckled. There probably wasn't a better way to get out of it. The suddenness of their incident startled you and Baxter enough to let go of each other's hands. You didn't get to join in on burying Terry, but you didn't mind. The one-on-one time you did get with Baxter was something you wouldn't have missed. You waved cheerily to your friends, and the five of you regrouped about halfway between the towels and the destroyed tomb. Man, I'm ready to wash this off. Terry looked down at herself and laughed. She tried brushing the wet, mushy sand off, but most of it stubbornly clung on. She only succeeded in moving around where it was on her. Terry's grin tilted when her gaze landed on Baxter. She shrugged awkwardly.
We're cool.
I'm not expecting all of us to jump in. Thank you. Don't worry about me. It was never my intention to swim. Please don't let that stop your fun. Wait, what?
well,
It's simply not my preference. Terry squinted and thoroughly scrutinized him. She wasn't satisfied with his answer.
Uh-huh.
I think I get it. You're new here, you don't know what to do in the great wide sea. Just hold on to my back and I'll take you out into the water with me. That's nice. Your place is right up the street. It's not too late to change. While I greatly appreciate the gesture, I must decline. I've experienced as much of the salt water as I want to already. Are you sure? I can totally handle it. I'm a lifeguard in training. That is cute. That is cute. This is a good moment, Baxter. Come on. You don't have to if you don't want to. Terry, I thought you hadn't signed up yet. Shh, I will. And that's what counts.
thank you.
Aw. But it's just so sad to leave you out. You know, me and Cove only became friends in the first place because we're beach people. You can be a beach man too, B-man. Okay. Her crestfallen gaze slid to Cove. He nodded understandingly. Surprisingly, Baxter chuckled.
I get it.
I understand where you're coming from, and I'm sorry for any upset I might have caused, but please, trust me on this one. I'm perfectly fine. I may not be much of a seafaring man, but I've gone swimming before. Pools and lakes are no trouble to me. In fact, I would guess I've done certain water-based activities that some of you might be too nervous to try. Not jet skiing. Cove's lips pursed. He raised his chin and stared, not so much threatened by Baxter's accusation, but insulted he would even make such a challenge.
Seriously?
Like what? I surf. I have a dad whose entire business is about water-based activities. I went on a jet ski when I was 8. What could you have done? Fight. Baxter straightforwardly answered the question. Skinny dipping. Oh shit, you're right. Cove would not do that. No, he would. He would. We did it. It's step 4. Cove would do that. I forgot and then immediately remembered. Cove's jaw dropped. That suggestion left him scandalized and the reddest you'd ever seen him. Don't worry, give it a few years, Cove. That doesn't count.
So,
You haven't done it then. You might want to, especially since you already enjoy the water. It is rather liberating. Baxter was making an honest recommendation. You could tell it wasn't his intention to come across mocking Cove's lack of experience there. However, Cove was still completely thrown. That suggestion of Baxter's was even worse than implying he was more confident in the water than Cove. The silent beat was broken by Miranda's embarrassed attempt to stifle her giggles with the palm of her hand. Her cheeks had grown flushed, and you knew it would be a while until she was confident enough to even dare to make eye contact with Baxter again. Terry, meanwhile, gave Baxter an impressed nod, and then instantly lost all composure. She fell into a boisterous fit of laughter, holding tightly onto her own stomach. A little amused, but not at the idea of skinny dipping, just that, like, I was not expecting it. Not very nervous. I mean, people do it. You didn't think that it was that big of a deal. I'm in between these. I'll say amused, just because I wasn't expecting it. Face palming, you shook your head in an attempt to be disapproving, but the moment you peeked at Baxter, there was no stopping the wide grin stretching ear to ear. Of course he'd been skinny dipping, and of course he was dropping that fact without hesitation in front of 4 people he hardly knew.
is that fine?
Did I say something wrong? The playful note in his voice told you everything you needed to know. Baxter was fully aware and enjoying the bits of chaos he unleashed on the group. You exhaled deeply and did not comment. No one else added anything on the topic of Baxter's skinny dipping adventures either. Alright, and you will not believe what time it is. This episode was getting to be a little bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and split it here. There's a lot. Like, this moment is just a lot. But it was really enjoyable, this coming from, you know, the future version of me who has finished the moment. I had a really good time with it. Just a fun little hangout session, and I'm definitely excited for you guys to see the rest of it, but I do have to spoil the fun and stop the episode right here for right now. I'm sorry, it's just too long. I don't want you guys sitting through all that. I don't want to have to edit a 2-hour long video. Let's cut it into hour-long chunks, right? But I hope that you enjoyed what you saw so far of Hang, and I hope that you are excited to see the last bits of it. Like I said, it's definitely fun, and I enjoyed it. It was nice, cozy, the way that this game usually is. But I'm gonna go now, so thank you for watching this. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time for the rest of Hang.